1 o'clock, right on the nose. Thank you for being here. My name is Sharon Parenteau, and of all the webinars that we offer, and I love our webinars, right? I think they're all really great, but I think this is the very most important one that we offer. It is the one thing that I can advise you on that will make the biggest difference, both in the quality of your life now and in the future saleability of your home. Now, I'm coming at you as a realtor, but I just want to reassure you that our intention is not to try to sell you anything. We just really like coming from a place of service so that when the time is right for you, you can make excellent decisions that are informed, okay? So I just want to get started by saying today is Decluttering Battle Plan Part 2. If you weren't able to join us for Part 1, don't worry, we are going to do a little recap. And then today we're going to move into some very specific practical application. So this is the way we've been organizing our webinars. We kind of do the first part as being the theory and kind of the bigger ideas of the topic. And then on Part 2, we get down to the nitty-gritty. And we're going to give you some resources, and we're going to give you some hopefully motivation and inspiration to go along with your perspiration. Okay, so it is a physical occupation to declutter. But that being said, we hope that you're going to find the strength within you to get going on this. So I just want to reintroduce myself. My name is Sharon Parenteau. I'm a realtor with Keller Williams. And early on, when I began my real estate career, I figured out who I wanted to work with. I wanted to work with people who were my own age or even older, into my parents' generation, who were living in homes that no longer suited their needs. So, many of my clients, most of my clients are empty nesters, are retirees, and they have a lot of equity tied up in their homes, and a lot of ways that could be really enhancing their retirement. But until they get to the next phase in home ownership, until they essentially downsize, they can't really access all of that, equity, that lovely equity. And this is really driven home to me when my grandparents passed away, that they had all kinds of money in the bank and checking accounts squirreled away, as people from their era did, but it wasn't really helping them enjoy their best lives. And that to me was really a sadness. So part of what I do now is a mission to help people get free. And we called the company S.M.A.R.T Realty Solutions because what I realized is that even though there is commonality in the people I speak with, they have the same questions, the same concerns, the same obstacles. We really do have to construct a personal solution system for each individual person. So it's not one size fits all, not by any means. It is really a custom tailored solution for whatever situation you or your loved ones are facing. So Melissa, I just want to remind you to make sure we're recording, to send it out to people who aren't able to make it with us. Melissa, who is on our call, is my operations coordinator. She makes this happen, and without her, I would be lost. So we all need to have people in our court, and I thank her for her service to our team every day. So this is our beautiful couple who obviously has no clutter, because they are models, and models don't have clutter. But we're going to go back and just spend a few minutes reviewing what we covered in terms of both the high cost of clutter, and that can be measured in multiple ways, and also working on identifying our obstacles to moving forward, and then creating a battle plan. Now, I used to be an educator. I used to be an English and history teacher. And so I love metaphors. And so I created this battle plan as kind of a metaphor of tackling this the situation that can be overwhelming. And it's the number one thing I encounter when working with older homeowners is that they say, oh, I would love to move, but have you seen my basement? What am I going to do with that garage? And it's something that we developed some systems to help you with, gathered up the resources so that you have everything at your fingertips to be able to move forward. Okay, then we're going to get into campaign, divide, and conquer. This is a very effective strategy. Our children have been using it on us for years, so we know it works. And I think the overall, what we're going to provide to you is going to be super helpful. And stay tuned to the very end of our webinar where we have something that you can act on today. Okay, not tomorrow, not next month, next year. Today we have something for you. Okay. So a lot of the downsizers that I encounter, and you know what, I'm going to suggest this for any homeowner. We all have way too much stuff. So this is a judgment-free zone. I want you to know that no one is casting aspersions on the fact that you have too much stuff, because we all have too much stuff, right? That's just a byproduct of our affluent nation that we are so blessed to live in. And my joke has been that we all have a bad case of affluenza. And most of the time, we just don't know where to start. And what ends up happening is that we defer the decision to someday. And if you've ever worked with elderly parents or relatives, you know that gradually the window of opportunity to tackle this, both mentally and physically, starts to close down. So there is an opportunity here to get this situation under control and to be able to move into your ideal life. It's like what Oprah says. I'm sorry, but she has some things right. And one of them is about living your best life. And if you are being held hostage in a home that is no longer serving your needs, most of the time it's clutter that is the real root cause of that. So we want to get you free, and it's an incremental process. It doesn't happen overnight. So let's get going on that. Reviewing the high price of clutter that we all pay. And now this can be measured both in intangible things like the quality of life. We know that clutter is linked to all kinds of mental, emotional, even physical complaints, things like lack of sleep, poor quality sleeping, depression, overeating. Like there's just a whole host of things that are linked to a cluttered environment. And this is something that has been documented and researched, right? So I know that there has been some major movements towards minimizing your lifestyle. This whole minimalist attitude of that Marie Kondo espouses, where it is about giving up the things that no longer serve your life. And I think that's the overall mindset we were really striving to achieve last time, is that if it doesn't work for you anymore, then it's time to make a change. It's not that it didn't work at some point, but now it's just not where you need to be. So as a realtor, my big concern, of course, is how it impacts the saleability of your house. So I don't know that this is 100% true, but every bag you take out is worth cold, hard cash to the final sale price that you will achieve. It is by far the most important thing you can do to prepare your home for sale eventually. And the best thing is that you will experience all the benefits now in terms of increased space and peace of mind and fewer feelings of sadness and being down. So we also talk about the financial cost of having to replace things. And I mentioned last time in our seminar that the #1 growing segment of the real estate market commercially down in the US, because they keep statistics on this, is storage warehouses. And it's so true. You get a new neighborhood and what pops up? we get a nail salon and a storage community, a storage unit, and the Tim Hortons and a Walmart. It is. It's really ubiquitous that people are running out of room in their homes, and so are having to rent additional space to store their stuff. They don't have a storage problem, they have a stuff problem. Okay, and that's really what it comes down to. And I have worked with downsizers who, against all my counsel, have decided that they just don't have it within them right now to sort through all that stuff, and they end up just shipping the excess into a storage container, and then they move to a storage unit, and then they move into a condo. I really don't think that's a great long-term strategy. It's very costly to rent that space, very costly, hundreds of dollars a month. So this is exactly what I'm talking about in terms of all the hidden costs of having clutter in your life, things that we might not even think about, like late fees and interest on bills that we can't find because we're disorganized. You know, so all of that we covered last week, and you are going to get a copy of this slideshow so that you can review it at your leisure. Okay, so some statistics there about self-storage, and it's quite shocking. So the bottom line on this slide, I think, is really the takeaway from this section of our presentation last week. Are you getting more out of your possessions than it takes to maintain them? Now, where I live in Richmond Hill, it's about a 40-year-old neighborhood behind Hillcrest Mall. And when I talk to my neighbors and when I knock on doors, what I hear people saying is that they are in this situation and they are basically living in a 3 or 4 bedroom, 2,000 square foot storage unit for their stuff. And it's not just their stuff. It is maybe some of the estate things that they've inherited. It's their adult children's stuff. So are you living in a 4-bedroom storage unit? That's kind of a bit facetious, but there's an element of truth to it for sure. The other thing I read in the Toronto Star, which we know is got to be true, is that there are 2.2 million empty bedrooms in the GTA. And I think if you just did a self-survey, you would realize you have more space than you need, really. Lots of us are living in homes where we're really just occupying 3 main rooms. And there are other rooms that are kind of just shut off and end up being, you know, the dumping ground for our surplus stuff. So we want to get you past that. So this is a big problem when we have a lot of clutter. I'm totally guilty of this. I can never find my glasses. I need my glasses to find my glasses. The adult version of head and shoulders, knees and toes is wallet, glasses, keys, and phone. So true. And beyond that, we often end up having to repurchase items that we can't find. So there's that aspect as well. So we talked about some of the quote unquote reasons why we don't declutter, why we keep things that we don't actually want or need or enjoy use of anymore. I won't go through that again, but suffice to say, we really have to take an accurate assessment of what is happening now in our lives, as well as projecting into the future. The fact that we have and I'm guilty of this, or I was until recently, the fact that I have my daughter's preschool macaroni art is not going to help me live a happy retirement when it's time for me to downsize, right? So you can review this at your leisure, but the basic message is to really detach the object from the emotional, sentimental, and often irrational sentiment attached to it, and really get into what is practically serving your best life. Me wants to live a minimalist life with little to no clutter. Also me, I'm going to keep this math assignment from 5th grade that I might need it later. So true. I kept all my university notes and teaching supplies for, I don't know why, until somebody opened my eyes up to it. It was actually my eldest daughter who moved back from university, and it just ended up being banker's boxes of stuff that we recycled. And I have to tell you, I don't miss it in the least. So I didn't need my university notes or my teaching supplies for things, because I'm never going back to teaching. And whatever I was holding on to those university notes for has long since passed. So I accurately assessed my age and stage and got rid of them, and it was liberating. So let's get into it. We talked about this as a military metaphor last week when we held part 1. And it's really, as I said, related to the sale or the eventual sale of your home. And that's my perspective. But this applies to no matter where you are in that sale process. I have to tell you that most of the people we encounter are 12 to 24 months out from making a decision to move. And this is something that you are going to have some lead time on. And we encourage you to get going, of course, but it's something that can happen over subsequent weeks and months until the time is right for you to list and sell your home. So it all starts with mindset. Enough is a decision, not an amount. That is so true. One of the very best things you could do, and I'm going to have to revise my slideshow, is to suggest nothing else comes in. Just take a hiatus from shopping. You know, in some ways, all of this COVID shutdown has been a bit of a blessing. You know, with the malls closed and our opportunities to spend money being much more limited, many of us have substituted Amazon Prime for that outlet, that what we call retail therapy. But it's really kind of a false economy. And the best thing I can suggest to you, and everyone can do this, is really to take a complete hiatus to bringing in new things for a while. So we talked about getting ready to do battle, that we're going to start strong by first of all identifying a start date, and give yourself a couple of days, maybe mark it on the calendar. Tell somebody in your sphere of friends and family that you're planning to declutter. Make sure your spouse, your partner, is on board. And what I noticed is that when we give our final eviction notice to our kids who are storing stuff in our basement, when it's a united front, it really goes a lot further. They respond to our resolve to say by the end of July, we need you to come and pick up those boxes, or you know, we need to have it out by August 30th, or we're going to have to donate it because we just don't have the space anymore. So gathering up your supplies will be things like the big contractor garbage bags. I love those from Home Depot because they're super thick, they're puncture resistant, and they're almost as tall as me. And so they can really be used to get rid of those extra items that you've identified as garbage. And also go on over to your town community center and get some extra garbage tags, so that when you do decide to get rid of it, there's no going back. You just put it out on the curb, you've got your extra garbage tag, and off it goes. And the other thing we like to recommend are some grocery store boxes, so that when you find things that you want to donate, things that you can't use but you know somebody else could, you've got some boxes that are also you can give away without, you know, thinking about the expense. And then finally, we want to have some clear totes with lids, so that you have everything ready. And as you are sorting your items and working through, that you've got a place to put them. Nothing is more frustrating than starting a job without the right supplies, right? And then all of your good intention is stymied by just the practical aspect of not having garbage bags or whatever. So get all of your stuff together and then think about what that end goal looks like in real terms. Like they have these amazing 1-800 got junk commercials where they are talking about, you know, bam, there's a new room. Did you want extra space? Oh, look, and bam, there it goes. So they do really effective marketing at helping people to recognize that if they got rid of their junk, they would have a lot more livable space. They found like a bonus room, and they have all different series, which I think is really smart marketing. So what is it that you're going to achieve by going through this process? What's the end goal, and what is the reward? Because as much as we've been talking about the negative aspects of having a cluttered home, really we need to motivate ourselves in terms also of the rewards and the carrot, not just the stick, as I usually say. Okay, so that's how we get started. And then we talked about chunking time using the Pomodoro method, which you can Google and look up. It's an efficiency expert solution to keeping focus on a task. We all are guilty of trying to multitask, and it just doesn't work. There's a great book called The Myth of Multitasking. What we need to do is set aside a dedicated time, and we recommend 25 minutes to do the job with not trying to multitask, just focusing on that. The other thing we recommended last week was that you stick in the area, you start and stay in the area that needs it the most. There's no sense frittering around with linen closets and you know, your jewelry box or any of that. And for goodness sakes, don't start with photographs or paper, because you will be lost and we will never see you again. But seriously, start where you need it the most. And this hot weather that we're experiencing, the basement is the perfect place to get 25-minute chunks of time where you are sifting, sorting, packing, getting ready to declutter. Okay, so you can review last week's webinar for a more in-depth information, but I think this gives you an adequate overview of how we think the best method is to get through this decluttering challenge. And then sometimes we do have to call in reinforcements. This could be both the people in your social sphere or your family. We talk about having a reward for them as well. You know, I have university students, my own daughter who lives downtown, and for her, a home cooked meal is worth gold. So what is it that you could make this like a pleasant environment to come up and help you with the basement, or lift some heavy boxes, or carry things down to the end of the driveway for the garbage man, or whatever it is. So call in the reinforcements. And there are also a ton of companies out there who will help you with this process. There are companies that sell, they do online auctions for a commission. They will come in and organize it in lots and photograph it and publicize it, and they even take credit card payments online. But another option that's even simpler is to hire a grandkid or a neighbor kid to come and help you with this process if you don't feel like you have the technical savvy to be able to do it yourself. The advantage being that, you know, they are going to earn some pocket money, and you are going to earn a smooth transaction of getting your stuff sold, or even just donated and given away, whichever you choose as the best option. So there is a real lack of part-time jobs this summer for kids, like teenagers and a bit older. So I know they would be happy, and then you'd certainly be happy to have it taken care of. So it's a win-win situation, and that's what we are always aiming for. Okay, so if you need more details, feel free to post questions in our chat box, and we can direct you to some specific services that we know about. Okay, so let's get into it. This is the nitty-gritty, where they are dividing and they are conquering. Look at them with their boxes, getting ready to get rid of the surplus things that are holding them down and holding them back. So let's start with what I like to think of as being an easy win. I'm always about the easy win because this really helps you to start to feel successful, and it reinforces your motivation and your intention. So what I like to start with is garbage. Now, I know you're not, category 4 hoarders, not implying that at all, but we all have things that we have parked down in the basement and forgotten about, and they end up being garbage in the sense that maybe they are outdated or parts of something that we no longer have. So anything that is broken or soiled or missing parts, something that we put aside and we go, oh, we got to get that fixed, and it never happens. And we have things like out of date technology, or things like VCRs or parts to telephones, like where you have the base but not the handset, or the handset not the base, or frayed extension cords, or packing material, things that you've kept behind. When I moved, I was surprised to find out that I still had the TV box, but I no longer had the TV. So those are the kinds of things we hang on to and then forget about them. So anything that's obsolete or holiday decor that you haven't used, like we all have our good box, right? Am I right? And then we have kind of the other box, the stuff that the kids made. Take a picture. If you're not going to put it up again this year, take a picture, throw it out, right? That's the kindest thing you can do to yourself. Baby gear. I told the story last time of holding on to baby gear that's not safety certified anymore. So it doesn't meet today's code. So get rid of that as well. And that isn't something usually you can donate because they are so stringent about making sure everything is up to current standard. And it's probably been a while since we had any babies. So that's there. And then we also want to get rid of anything that is worn or, like frayed. And obviously, if you wouldn't give it to somebody you care about, it probably is garbage. I was also talking about how many homes I go into and see a little pile of lumber behind the furnace, or, things that were kept, scrap trim, shelving units, brackets, hardware, fasteners, little bags of screws, and nobody knows what they went to, or a big pickle jar full of, bolts and washers, and nobody needs them. And if you did, you can just go out and buy them at the dollar store. But I almost guarantee you're not going to require them again. So get rid of it. We also have a whole category of garbage that is e-waste and also hazardous waste. And we are actually very fortunate in York Region that we have great depots for everything that is garbage. And even in Markham and in Newmarket, there are textile recycling places where you could actually bring your used textiles like drapes, towels, sheets, anything that's kind of got holes in it or frayed or ripped, and they will recycle it for the fiber content. And then we all have all of this junky stuff that we pick up over the years. Our travel agent sends us mugs and sporting things and giveaways and freebies, and so many like pieces of luggage that are old, outdated. And then the bottom one, now this is a major turning point for me because I was definitely a gift bag and tag hoarder. I kept the kids would unwrap something and I would say, "Sorry, you gotta fold the tissue and keep the tissue." But truly what ends up happening is I just go and buy new each and every time. And the bottom line for this list is, are you willing to pay somebody $30 or $50 an hour to move it to your new house? Or wouldn't you rather just get rid of it? And if you absolutely needed it again, you all have the means to be able to go and repurchase gift bags, I'm pretty sure. So all of that stuff can go out and you can have a clean conscience. By the age of 35, you should have a huge box of random cables, but you can't throw them out because you're pretty sure you might need a couple one day. Yeah, that's so true, right? Power cords to computers we no longer have. Get rid of it. Okay, so now this is where we get a bit of a feel good. We have things that are not our best, like I joke about the company towels, right? The company towels, like, don't touch those. Those are for the company. Why aren't we using those? Why aren't we using our best dishes that we have packed away? We may maybe use them twice or 3 times a year. Like, we should be enjoying that every day. And we're going to get rid of things. Get rid of the things that are the lesser. Keep the better, get rid of the lesser. And there are lots of places where people who are in need, and then we have affluence, we're experiencing that we have a lot. Well, there are people who have too little, people whose situations are really unfortunate, and we would love to feel good knowing that we're not putting these things into landfill, but we're actually helping somebody. So things that still have life in them, that are clean and in good repair. If they're missing a button, take a minute and sew a button on. And anything that you have a duplicate of, that's what we really see, like in hardware and craft materials and sewing supplies and, oh my goodness, coffee mugs, anything that you haven't used for the last 12 months, but still has good life in it. And I'm thinking of equipment. I'm thinking in categories of equipment. So canning equipment or big serving trays. I got married in the year of the fondue pot. So how many fondue pots do I need? You know, the rest of them, those can go. All the makers, we go through these phases where we upgrade our coffee machine. And so now we have a surplus coffee machine. I don't know why we're keeping it. Maybe we think if the carafe breaks, we need it or whatever. Get rid of it. How about bread makers? I got rid of my bread maker, realizing the fact that I used it once a year for Christmas morning was not sufficient to warrant keeping it. I'll just make bread the old-fashioned way. Yogurt makers, ice cream makers, we all have makers out the wazoo. Panini presses, those were a thing, right? Donate them. Somebody else will use them. And if you really look at it, you can make a panini in a regular frying pan, I'm pretty sure. Now, there's also sporting equipment, things that you're hanging on to for sports that you no longer play. Golf clubs or tennis rackets or skis, all of these taking up space. And I know they harken back to a time when you really enjoyed that. But if you haven't skied, you know, in the last 12 months, why not get rid of it or even try to sell it? This is something I see a lot too. People who have a very active like woodworking hobby and they have a ton of tools, duplicate tools. They've got palm sanders, they've got rotary sanders, they've got sanders up, you know. So keep the one that is most versatile and functional and get rid of the rest. Many of us in the past used to take the kids camping or fishing or whatever. And I'm going to tell you, I have evolved past sleeping on the ground. I will never again sleep on the ground. So I don't really need all of the things that we had for camping. And I've actually long since gotten rid of them. We always keep a few sleeping bags just because we want to make sure if, you know, my kids have a sleepover or, you know, we have out of town guests that we have, you know, something for them. But we also have a tendency to take down vertical blinds and curtain rods and store them, or exercise equipment that we're no longer using, treadmills and stationary bikes and, you know, the whole thing. And then things that we've inherited. I want you to think about those. The things that you received with gratitude but are no longer using and are really just storing in your basement. Why not donate those out? There are people and there are organizations that will make sure they get into the right hands, people who truly need them. So we have lots of needs met and lots of wants met. So why not pass along that abundance. Okay, so anytime you have something that you take down and replace with something better, like maybe a new light fixture, or you buy yourself new bedding, donate the old stuff and just keep the best that makes you happy. So this is what it's going to be like. I don't know exactly. Maybe Melissa, you can speak to this. I'm not sure what stores and places are accepting donations right now. But it does feel like this is the way it's going to be, that when we all get ready and go back to a more normal life, that we're going to be chucking bags. I know I have 4 huge garbage bags of things to donate. So I guess I better get on that. Okay, now here's an opportunity. We got to remember that the overall priority is to get rid of the stuff. That's the highest, that's the prime directive, is that we want to get rid of it. And if we happen to make a few bucks on the side, perfect. But don't be thinking of this as some kind of side business that you're going to run and, you know, fund your retirement with. No, it doesn't usually work that way, because a lot of people mistake their emotional sentiment and attachment to things as being a monetary value. They also can make the mistake of applying resale purchase price to the value. I've heard this, you know, 1,000 times, where it's like, oh yeah, but if you had to rebuy that today, that would be hundreds, that would be thousands. Yeah, but it's not. It's used furniture at the very best. What is it worth? It's only worth what somebody is willing to pay for it. And the fact that you purchased it back in 1991 and paid $5,000 does not mean that your dining room set will fetch you $5,000 today. It's just certainly not going to, because first of all, there is a glut of brown furniture on the market. It's not currently the fashion to have a separate formal dining room. Most people aren't living that way anymore. And really, if they're willing to come and take it, anything that you make off of it is pretty much a bonus. I really truly think that. So this is just reinforcing what I've said. The heart value is what you place on it. And there's going to be things that are absolutely priceless to you because of who they came from or the time in your life when you acquired them. But that is not the cold, hard market value of things, right? And what it would cost you to replace it or what you spent on it, pretty much irrelevant. There are some exceptions, and I've highlighted those in the bottom corner. And if you think you have something of worth, a collection or mid-century furniture, which is very, very hot right now, or mechanical watches, or old solid state high-end electronics like hi-fi systems, or antiques, or original artwork, all of these, first edition books, all of these fall into the category of being potentially valuable. And I say potentially because there's no hard and fast rule. You really need to find somebody who is an expert in that niche to come and give you an evaluation. A lot of the antique purchasers, they purchase huge lots. Like they'll come in and offer you a flat rate for everything in your house that they're interested in. It's not usually at all what you're expecting. It's lower, but you've got to remember that they have to resell it with a markup. So again, the best case scenario is that you get something for it and that it doesn't go to garage sale and somebody else gets to use it who will value and take care of it. Okay, so hit me up if you need some of your collections appraised, and we can set you up with sources that can do that for you. There was an old woman who lived in a shoe and also had a timeshare in Hawaii. Now, isn't that the best possible outcome? That when you have a home, that you could actually even downsize to 2 homes and still have money in the bank. Get rid of winter in your life. Delete winter. would not be amazing. And then really enjoy your life the way you want to live it, not as a caretaker of possessions. I love this. She looks pretty happy, that lady in the shoe, especially I guess because the kids left, right? So that's an added benefit. Okay, so now we're gonna keep, obviously, we're not completely asking you to like get down to one good outfit and work clothes. Like we hear in Swedish death cleaning. Have you heard of that? Where starting at a certain age, I don't remember if it's 50 or what, but you start shedding your possessions so that by the time you transition to the other side of life, that you're not a burden to your family. And I think that's a huge thing, right? We've all had to deal with older adults in our lives who left stuff for us to have to deal with. And really, I think the idea of the Swedish death cleaning, as macabre as it sounds, the title maybe just doesn't quite translate. I think the idea is great, that we only keep the best. We pare down, and the joke in my mind is that at the end, like, you literally have your good outfit. That's it. And the rest of it is gone. So what are you going to keep? You're going to keep the things that give you the maximum joy and utility. Like, it's a combination of a practical assessment of the things that you actually need. Do you need a palm sander in your life, or do you need a KitchenAid mix master? Like, that actually is a legitimate question. Do you need all of these small appliances? And if not, get rid of them, but make sure that you keep the things that enhance your life. So I love this cartoon on the left. This is the thing that people always say that they're going to do. If they came into a big amount of money, the number one answer that people give me is always travel. And I'm just going to say that the bricks and mortar that you live in can't supply the money to travel. That only comes by getting rid of the big house, moving into a smaller house, and doing the traveling while you can. And then again, this motto on the right: fill your life with adventures, not things. Have stories to tell, not stuff to show. And I have to say that our millennial children and grandchildren have this part of life figured out accurately. None of my children, I have 4, are really ambitious to own a house. Like, where have I failed? I'm a realtor. No, I'm joking. They would rather have disposable income and live life and experience things. And we've heard about this as being like the rental economy, and it's totally true. 2 of my daughters don't even have their driver's licenses. Like, I was so anxious to get my first car. It's a different lifestyle. Their priorities are living life, not acquiring stuff. And it is a mindset shift. But I do think that as we move into the mature phase of our life, there is a lot of merit to this idea of just keeping the best and getting rid of the rest. So now we get to enjoy the spoils, right? Whatever that means to you. Maybe it is that you've held a garage sale and you've raised a couple of $100s, and now you're going to treat you and a friend out to a better than usual dinner, or you're going to buy yourself a good bottle of wine, or maybe you've cleared out so much room in your closet from all the clothes that don't fit or make you feel attractive or are comfortable, that now you can bring yourself to get yourself something new and pretty or handsome, whatever the case may be. So it is important to project past the valley of the shadow of clutter to the other side, and just see yourself as being lighter and brighter and more intentional about the possessions that you retain. I think that is a really great place to end. I think that is the the phrase I want to leave you with is, rather than having stuff that just seems to almost be like accidental, that you have an intentional plan to only keep things that are going to be beneficial. Hopefully, with some of the resources that we can point you to, this will be something that you achieve with relative ease and comfort. Now, we talked about this last time. It's not like one day while you were sleeping, the evil clutter elves came and dumped a bunch of stuff, junk in your house. It's something that acquired over time, and we know that it's going to take the reverse to engineer a different outcome. We're going to have to work on it slowly, bit by bit, time over time over time, until we get the result. It's like, to use a different metaphor, if you had a marathon to run, you wouldn't decide you're going to do all your training in one weekend. First of all, you'd be so sore and stiff, you'd never go back to the gym. It's something that you have to do in small increments. And we know, experts have shown that that small incremental consistency will win the ultimate victory for you and your battle over too much stuff. Okay? So the first step to crafting the life you want is getting rid of everything you don't. I think that is hugely important. It's like Michelangelo asked how he was able to do these incredible sculptures in marble, and at the end of it he's got a David, and in his mind it was a simple thing of just removing everything that was not the statue. And that's kind of the metaphor you can apply again. We've got so many metaphors today, but I do think it's important that you grasp it and then you can execute on it. And we have some resources to help you. First of all, we have our 30-day decluttering challenge. This is something that you can sign up from, and it deviates a little bit from our plan because we go in, like, we go from place to place. But if it's this or doing nothing, I'd rather you do this, because it's small tasks once a day. You get an email reminder. It's completely self-regulated. Nobody's coming to your house and checking that you've done your homework. It's simply a service that we provide to help you get started. And it looks like this, where we have 30 days of small little tasks to do. For example, day one is starting on the front hall closet. Not huge. You're not going to twist an ankle or, you know, do anything like that. It's going to be something very manageable, and you're going to see the reward and move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Okay. You'll also be receiving the workbook that accompanies this webinar. So between that and this, we really are going to get you decluttered for sure, for sure. Okay, we also offer some other things that are, again, free of charge. There's no cost or obligation. Things like a virtual property evaluation. I attended a very interesting webinar today, put on by some economists who work for the Toronto Real Estate Board, and things are moving. Oh my goodness. One of the important factors in planning out your financial future is to know what the biggest investment is worth. And you might be pleasantly surprised. I almost guarantee you will be, because prices have been very, very strong, even throughout this COVID setback. It's truly remarkable. So maybe it's been a while since you've had an accurate evaluation of what your home is worth. We're happy to provide that for you. And we also have a Facebook group called the S.M.A.R.T Social Connection Group, where we just kind of hang out on Facebook and share some silly things, nothing real estate related. It's very intentional that it's just a place to feel connected, because even though things are starting to open up, it certainly still feels quite isolated and lonely sometimes. So I post funny things, recipes, little videos, information about COVID, like stuff like that, but very light and positive vibes only. Okay, so that's that. This is a great time, if you have questions, to start typing them into the chat box, because we're almost at the end of our slides. And then, oh, did I just skip one? Oh, yes, our condo tours. These are so much fun. This is a great way for you to build your market knowledge. We used to do these in person, where we would actually go out in my van and go and travel around Thornhill or Aurora and look at listings that were available. Again, not for the intention of me strong-arming you into a purchase. That's just not the way I do business, but to see what's available. And we still do them. And so I've streamlined it. So we always choose older buildings, brand new construction, 2 bedrooms or larger, 1,000 square feet or larger, from 450 up to 900,000. And that's where we start, and we take you to what's available in different communities. It's fun, it's informative, and it's super helpful. If you think that maybe buying a condo is in your future, it sometimes works against me. Sometimes people rule them out and say, oh, no way. But lots of times it helps pull down the fear of the unknown. And you can see that it is actually quite a convenient, popular option. The next part is our ask of you. Now, everything today that's been provided for you and will continue to be provided for you is free of charge. We just need your help spreading the word. And that is because some of the ways we normally market our services and make sure that people know about us have been a little bit truncated by COVID. And we want to make sure that if you know somebody who you think would benefit by any of our services that we've mentioned, that you would please share our contact information. You can let them know about what we do, invite them out, and we're going to be so grateful. We're going to put your name into a basket for a draw that we'll be having at the end of July. I think originally we had scheduled it for Canada Day, but like so many good intentions, we're going to just postpone that to the end of this month, and we'll let you know who wins. Okay, so if you enjoyed today and you found it helpful, would you please pass it along? Okay, so that's that. I want to see if there are any questions. Is there anybody who would like to post anything in terms of a question? We do have a bit more time. We have exactly 8 minutes. Do you have a question about decluttering? Okay, I see a comment coming into the chat. Thank you, Denise. Okay, I'm glad that you enjoyed both part 1 and part 2. Yes, it is a great opportunity to move forward in your intention to live a less cluttered life. It's so funny. What did I do after last week's? I went and decluttered a whole bunch of stuff. That's why I have 4 bags of clothes to donate. So I felt the urge to purge. Maybe that should be part of my seminar. Go through with it. Yes, we can renew and restore after we have purged. Any other comments, questions? Okay, well, I know Melissa's going to do a great job sharing out this link, making sure that you get the resources that follow up from this program. Please keep us in mind for people in your sphere, family, friends, neighbors who might be thinking of downsizing and just need that extra little helping hand. My joy in life is getting people unstuck. That is the #1 thing that gives my joy fullness. So thank you again. Appreciate you all being here. Looks like it actually might rain in Richmond Hill, which would be terrific for the flowers and the weeds. You're most welcome, Carol. I'm glad that you were able to join us. We'll look forward to seeing you another time. Okay, thank you.